Hello, hello. Wow, wow, wow. Yes. That was, give it up again for Nicole. I know she's not in the house, but I'm sure she can feel our energy still. Yes. So, next up, we have an incredible speaker here with us today who will dial us in on historical NFTs. How many history buffs do we have in the house? Okay, I'm just gonna give myself a half raise because I appreciate history. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Jake Gallen from Native Research. Yes, you're welcome.
All right, some history buffs in the house. So, my name is Jake. I'm part of a growing community out in the NFT space called Historical NFTs. And sometimes it sounds like an oxymoron, but a lot of people actually have no idea that NFTs predate CryptoPunks. How many people know what CryptoPunks are? Most do. Most do. Most know that one of the highest selling NFTs ever is a CryptoPunk for about $28 million. That happened probably about a month ago. But what a lot of people don't know is there's actually NFTs that exist on Ethereum up to 2015 and even on other blockchains. Some people didn't know that Bitcoin has NFTs beginning in 2015, and the first ever altcoin called Namecoin that was actually worked on by Satoshi Nakamoto himself has them dating all the way back to 2011. So I'm wearing a shirt. It says Jake.bit. This NFT was created in May of 2011, and the first ever NFT was created April 21st, 2011, and it actually is called Bitcoin.bit. So a decentralized Namecoin is a decentralized domain storage system, so similar to the .coms of Web3 and ENS, and it predates ENS about 6 years from now. And for most of us that have just got into NFTs recently, I've been in crypto now for 5 years, but recently was aware of NFTs during the Mooncat rediscovery, which I will talk about here in a second, which is an iconic moment that kind of spurred this idea of NFT archaeology, which sounds kind of weird, but it's growing pretty fast and has a lot of volume, a lot of different sales. So let's start and help define what the NFTs are that we know today. NFTs today are built off of what's called like the ERC 721 standard. So all of the NFTs from 2018 when it was implemented to now all have very similar smart contract deployments. They're pretty much written off the same lines of code. But anything that had come before that was all customized contracts. So the idea of what a non-fungible token is prior to 2018 was all built off of creativity and curiosity, and there was no standard set in place. And when you go to other chains like Bitcoin and Namecoin, they don't have smart contract functionality, so they were built off of different platforms. So on Bitcoin, there's a side chain called Counterparty, which is where the popular stablecoin Tether was actually deployed in 2015, 2016. And just staying along with Bitcoin for a second, there's a very popular collection called Rare Pepes, which was known as crypto art back then. They didn't even call it non-fungible anything. They just called it crypto art. And these tokens themselves, some of them had images and some of them didn't. And the community that surrounds Bitcoin NFTs says that the token is the art rather than the image is the art, which is what we know on Ethereum and some of the new smart contract platforms like Solana and Tezos and all the other new ones that pop up. So Rare Pepes is kind of like this cultural hotspot that is where the largest community exists on Bitcoin. And what I mean by that is that Rare Pepes was the first community curated crypto art project ever. And if you know, if you go outside of Web3 and you go outside of digital art, we know that we know that antiquities are very valuable. Picasso paintings sell for tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. Dinosaur bones selling for $10 million. One of the first ever known created pieces of pottery has sold for $40 million within the last few years. So when you think about when you think about digital art and you think that this is a revolution and NFTs have staying power, then some of these digital artifacts should have value, right? If we do succeed in taking over this new revolution, then something that's like a painting equivalent or something that could be considered an equivalent of a dinosaur bone, which is probably these .bit addresses and some puny codes, which I'll talk about in a second, then all of this should have value and meaning. And so when you think about digital antiquities, I actually started out as an antique store owner myself. So a lot of this completely made sense. And there was a turning moment where NFT archaeology began. And this was called the Mooncats Rediscovery in March of 2021. And what happened is when NFTs were blowing up and becoming popular, a bunch of blockchain enthusiasts were going through the entire history of the Ethereum blockchain, and they were going through old Reddit posts and looking for keywords, and we were finding what was called abandoned projects. And in March of 2021, they found this project called Mooncats, which is 25,000 pieces of 8-bit digital cats that were randomly generated and partially on chain, which we'll talk about in a second. And so when they found these, only 5,000 of these cats were minted out of 25,000. So there was this crazy rush. There was this very euphoric and community-driven moment on crypto Twitter where everyone hangs out. And these cats you could mint for free. They were literally abandoned and created in 2017, only a month and a half after CryptoPunks were created. And they're now known as the first ever cat NFT collection. And so if you know anything about how memetic investing works, dogs kind of run meme coins, and cats kind of run non-fungible tokens. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how that works out. And so these cats, after they were all claimed within about 15 minutes, the floor went from literally 0 to 2 ETH, and then went right back down. And this inspired a lot of history buffs, archaeologists, to start looking for other projects. And the next day later, a project called Curio Cards was rediscovered. And Curio Cards actually predated CryptoPunks. And it was actually the first art NFT collection on Ethereum, which, as we talk about crypto art, which was Rare Pepes but wasn't rediscovered at the time, everyone had this big light bulb moment. So there was a mad rush. Gary Vee actually ended up buying 20% of one of the cards, and there's a lot of prominent people in the space from crypto and outside of crypto who had to get their hands on this stuff. And within the next month, there's now NFT archaeology pioneers like Adam McBride and Leonidas and some others who began sifting through these chains and finding what was considered NFTs or crypto art or just unique tokens, because that's what NFTs are today. And so going to Ethereum, which is literally the first smart contracts deployed on Ethereum ever, which was deployed about a week after Ethereum was even created. And Ethereum actually predates not only ERC 721, but the ERC 20 standard. So they weren't actually, it was just a completely customized contract. And at the moment, they can't even list it on OpenSea because of how early and unique the contract is itself. But they do have a lot of value. And so then going into Bitcoin, people started exploring the Bitcoin blockchain, and we have rare pepes. There was actually a movie written about rare pepes, or I guess Fuel's Good Man, which is a movie about Pepe. If you know who that is, it's pretty much the Mickey Mouse of the internet. It's become the mascot for not only crypto, but for just memes in general. So we found rare pepes. They were created in 2016, and there's a lot of unique art. There's a little over 1,700 different types of rare pepes across 36 different collections. And at Sotheby's auction house last October, I was fortunate enough to sell 3 Mooncats there. That was kind of what helped me build my own brand and spread the gospel of historic NFTs or vintage NFTs. That's also an ongoing debate. And there was a card called Pepe Nopolis, which is a which is a rare Pepe intertwined with Andreas Antonopoulos, who's a Bitcoin pioneer. And that card sold for $4 million, which is the highest rare Pepe sale. And if you look across just volume and market activities, many of the largest sales ever are all historic NFTs. If you could wipe out, outside of Bored Apes, which there's maybe only 2 or 3 Bored Apes in the top 10 all time of historic sales that predate 2021 when Bored Apes were created. So with all of this hype, we have started to see a lot of, we'll call them Web 2 founders and entrepreneurs making their way into historic NFTs. Daryl Morey, who is the president of the 76ers, has literally been purchasing every single historic NFT known to man. Recently, there's a project called Puny Codes, which is a very, we'll call it a nerdy project, is created in 2011 on the Namecoin blockchain. And what it actually looks like is a bunch of just strings of numbers and letters, but when you take this characters and put it in what's called a Puny code converter, it spits out ASCII art, emojis, symbols, and all kinds of different art. And this is known as the first ever attempt to put art on a blockchain in 2011. Daryl Morey spent 28 ETH about a week ago, so about getting close to $100,000 on these Puny codes that were rediscovered in January of 2022 this year for literally 12 cents. So somebody just took a 12-cent flip into 100K. And so if you're looking at just like from a percentage return, that is probably one of the highest returns you'll get, even better than the majority of the Bored Ape mints that are happening today. So a lot of those in NFT archaeology see this and are just going through across different blockchains. Recently, Doge Party was brought back to life. So Doge Party was actually minting NFTs on Dogecoin in 2014, which actually predates Ethereum altogether, which is quite crazy. Elon Musk today just bought largest majority shareholder of Twitter and wants to power it from Dogecoin. So we'll probably see some sort of Doge Party NFTs coming to Twitter. Doge Party is a fork of Counterparty, which lives on the Bitcoin blockchain and powers rare pepes and some of these other coins. These people that were experimenting on Doge Party back in 2014 were doing it just for the fun, just for creativity, and they didn't have any financial incentive. I host a historical NFT podcast, so I talk with a lot of these creators, these early innovators and pioneers, just trying to understand the story behind all of this and what the energy and the morale was like in the room back in 2014. And they said it was just all for fun. So people were putting just random images of not only Doge, but pictures of their own dogs, pictures of Jolly Roger, which is the first image attachment to an NFT on Doge Party in 2014, which is just like a skull and cross and bones, which is quite cool to hear. So now we have Namecoin that dates back to 2011, Doge Party and Counterparty on Bitcoin that go back to 2014, and you have the first NFTs on Ethereum in 2015. So what else can be out there? There's now been some people exploring Emmercoin, which date back to 2013, and have been finding certain types of images. It's called historical NFTs because in order to be considered in order to be a part of history, you have to be significant. And this is an ongoing debate within the historical NFT community of what is significant. Why is something that was minted early significant? Why does it even matter if it was first? Why do communities form around these different ancient digital artifacts? And I just hope that everybody at least opens their eyes to history, because these things are not going away, and they're only going to continually increase in value based off of the absolute scarcity of all of these different assets that really exist. So if you're interested in historical NFTs, you could follow me, Jake Gallen. I'm easy to find on Twitter under the same name, Instagram. Same with the podcast and the YouTube channel. Look up people like Adam McBride and Leonidas.eth. Hop in the Twitter spaces and learn about history, and maybe you can be somebody who can help uncover the next hidden gem of historical significance. So thank you guys for listening, and hit me up.
Thank you. Thank you. Give it up again for Jake Gallen. Wow, we just got a history lesson. We got to understand how history ties into NFTs. It seems like history is just going to follow us all our life. So we're going to be taking a quick 15-minute break. So I encourage you to take a moment, maybe get some fresh air, stretch those legs, check out the booths. If you haven't yet stopped at my booth, which is just over there, you can learn more about Pivot to NFTs, the program in which I guide other service providers in pivoting their services to support Web3 and our NFT community here. You can also learn about my podcast, Golden Meta Sessions with Dog Peace, where I feature NFT creatives who share doses of inspo and how they are creatively expressing so that you can find and achieve your own version of success in Web3. We have a raffle going on as well, so if you give both myself, MetaDoc Peace, and our sponsor, Radio Kaka, a follow on Twitter, send me a DM sharing more about what it is that makes you gold, a genuine, original, loving dreamer, you can enter into this running for an incredible swag bag with tickets up to $120 in value. So I encourage you to take a moment, stop by our booth. I'll meet you over there. And take a moment to walk around. There's some incredible booths here. We've got Freedom with NFTs podcast with Lauren Turton, NFT and Crypto Marketing Agency, Musi, Ben. Yes, so let's get it connected. I'll see you back here in 15 minutes.